Hello and welcome to Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. Chris Lee, joined by Graham Doty. We are 2.5 weeks out. We are doing SEC baseball power rankings for 2026 inaugural rankings. And let me just tell it to you, this is not predicted order of standings. This is just how we size up the teams, how good we think they are. We're going to go in that order. We always go from the bottom up. Graham, cannot wait to get started. Three of us voted on this, you and I and Alfred. We had some disagreements, but that's what makes this fun. And I will tell you this, it was very difficult for me to sort a lot of these teams out. I went back and forth on a lot of teams, moving them up and down the board, but we settled here as a group. I think it's going to be a fascinating season of SEC baseball.
It always is, right? Until something changes. I mean, to me, this is the best conference for college baseball. I think the records show that, especially with the champions over the last few years. And I kind of think last year was kind of like the outlier with all the upsets that we saw, and especially in the NCAA tournament. So excited to see college baseball back. We're just days away now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if you replay the postseason over, 10 times, the SEC gets more teams probably to Omaha every time or close to it. But that's how it goes, and baseball's different, and we're here for it. All right, we have looked at these teams with the fine-tooth comb for the most part. We'll start at the bottom. I can find the banners. Here we go. Probably not a shock, Missouri here, but I think the Tigers under Carrick Jackson look like maybe a better outfit this time around. I think you hope, if you're Missouri, that you get a little bit better pitching this year with some guys healthier. Last year you had Javin Pimentel out all year. Got Ian Lose back. You got a lot of guys that threw innings for Missouri, Caden Drew being one of them. And Pierre Seals in that lineup, who now has contacts and can see. Interested to see how it goes for Carrick Jackson in Missouri this year.
Yeah, so last year, 3 SEC wins. I do get a sense and a feel kind of the area for Missouri. I think 5 to 8 wins, who knows, maybe even more. That's on the table with this group. I do think the addition of the new pitching coach, Drew Dickinson, is going to be a big boost and a big benefit for Missouri. So they do have a couple of key returners in that lineup. And then just with the addition of Dickinson, I think more than 3 wins is certainly on the table.
Number 15, South Carolina. Of all the teams that went transfer portal heavy, I'm not sure anyone did it other than maybe Georgia, more than did so Paul Maneri at South Carolina. You're looking at, I'm not going to say an entirely new lineup because KJ Scobie and Bo Hollins are there, but so many JUCO transfers from other Division I schools. You look at the pitching staff, which was a disaster to end the year. They reset with Amp Phillips at the top, a guy from South Carolina Upstate that can maybe help them. Brandon Stone, a guy that showed some things in flashes a year ago, and Jake McCoy, a guy who's getting a lot of preseason love, but also a guy who suffered an injury earlier, and his future a little bit in doubt here. But anyway, we ranked the Gamecocks at 15, Graham.
Year 2 under Paul Maneri, like his history, his track record, he really has good year 2s. Going back to Notre Dame, he had 44 wins the second year in Notre Dame, and then year 2 at LSU, he went to Omaha. So I'm not saying that he's taking South Carolina to Omaha, but I do think, he has his group of guys in. I do think they're going to be better than what everybody's anticipating.
Yeah, one thing that's a little bit underrated with them, they had some guys with some pop a year ago. One of them, Dawson Harmon from College of Central Florida, who I think is going to be their third baseman. I think he was, can't remember if he was the National JUCO Player of the Year or just that in Florida. Either way, a pretty good honor. He's got to hit 24 bombs a year ago and slugged 840. Now, you see a lot of guys that put up video game numbers in JUCO that don't translate, but keep an eye out for that one. That's a guy that if South Carolina's surprised, is to surprise everybody, that could be a name that's in the middle of all of it. Good morning, Sam Smith. I am back and alive. And a lot of you guys here, I see some familiar names. We got Caleb, our LSU guy. We got the Mizzou Mafia. Hey, glad you guys are here. We need a little more Missouri representation in baseball. We got Mr. Snow X. That could be anywhere in the South at this moment, but he's a Hogs guy. Wes is back. Always one of our favorites for baseball. Sam is here. If you didn't check out the video I did with Sam on the Tony Vitello era in the members tier, that is worth the price of admission alone. That was a fun one to do. We got who here? Trey Wright, go Big Orange. Yeah. Anyway, got a lot of teams represented here. Let's move to number 14. I got to protest this one. I think A&M's got a shot to be pretty good. Now we're going to see. I get that the weirdness of last year, all those things, and I have questions too. But man, I'm just let's just look at a few things. Let's forget last year for a moment. I'm not saying you should forget it completely, but just as a thought exercise, let's take a look at the lineup because you've got several guys here. Caden Sorrell could be a first-round pick this spring. Same thing with Gavin Grahovac, who Michael Early told us played through a shoulder injury as a true freshman. You got Chris Akopian at short at Maryland, who is maybe the best guy in the portal. I mean, those are three guys alone that I could see end up being All-Americans. You got Terrence Keel, who I just love. I think a sophomore that's willing to take or is going to take a big step up. Now, I don't know about some of their lower-end lineup depth. They got Bear Harrison still there. I think he gives them power. They got Jake Dewar at 428 at Florida Atlantic. I think the pitching is the issue, and the issue is that Cade McCoy, who's one of their key bullpen arms, already done for the year. But I think that you could look back and also say Weston Moss and Shane Sadeo were a sleeper 1-2 punch at the top of that rotation. So I'm just telling you, don't sleep on A&M as a team that could get in and make some noise. I don't know that they're title contender good enough because I'm not sure where the pitching depth is going to be. But I think everybody just, after last year, kind of forgot about them. And I don't know that that's the move, Graham.
Well, let's be real. They're in this spot coming into this year because last year, it was across the board. It was like, they're number one, right? Yep. Okay. Moving on to the next. So everybody kind of got snake bitten last year from A&M, which is why they find themselves here at 14. Now, they obviously have the talent. The question mark I do have for them is losing your hitting coach exactly 1 month before the season starts. Like, that's a curveball. And then they got a blow yesterday too, with injury news, as well. So, I do think they're going to be better. Again, they had a winning record last year. Like, people forget that too. Like, they were above 500. So the talent isn't the issue. I do think they are going to be a little bit better than what we saw last year. If you just missed it, we talked with Coach Early last week, and he was great. He was a lot of fun to visit with, and you can tell he's got confidence coming into this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, I get the doubts. Track record of the head coach not great so far. They had some injuries and some weirdness, and losing your hitting coach is not what you wanted to have happen a couple of weeks before camp. But I just think there's so much talent on that roster. So I think my question is, do they have the roster depth? And they might. It's just it's kind of an unknown compared to some of these other teams. So I think that's where I had the biggest questions. But I mean, gosh, if I had to take the over/under on where we have them here, that's an easy one for me. I mean, I'd say it's easy. The problem is I think you've got, man, I don't know. I think 13 teams that could all end up in the top 25. We'll see about that. A&M would be one that I would have in that mix. And I think D1 did have A&M 25th preseason. So I don't think that's a bad – that's a pretty good hedge in my mind. That's saying, okay, we think we're good enough that they belong, but we're not going to put them in the stratosphere of the LSUs and the Texases and those teams. So anyway, 13 Kentucky. This is another one I would take Kentucky finishing higher than we have them here. Nick Mingione did the thing that he always does. He goes and gets old in the portal. He has a ton of guys that have pitched before. He's got Tyler Bell, who might be a sleeper player of the year candidate in the league. It's short, but boy, is a banner year for shortstops in this league too.
Yes, it is.
That they're going to run a lot. These guys stole. He had what was it? I don't know, 6 or 7 guys that stole. I guess it was just 4 that stole double-digit bases a year ago. But one of them was Jace Tharnish, the St. Bonaventure transfer, who stole 32. Not a ton of returning home run pop between what they got there in the portal, but they got a couple things at the top. They've got Ben Cleaver, who's one of my favorite pitchers in the league. Always looking at your Friday guy. Do you have one? They do. And then Nate Harris, another guy who pitched a lot of innings on the weekends, is there too. So I just think this is a really solid team. I think it's a very high floor team. I'm not sure about the ceiling. I think that's what keeps Kentucky down a bit. But I think this team is going to be in a regional again at a minimum.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I kind of think this is the spot where Coach Mingione, wants him to be, flying under the radar a little bit. You definitely can't, look past Kentucky in a 3-game series. But like, I wouldn't be blown away if they make the NCAA tournament. I know it was kind of controversial. They were one of the last teams in a season ago to make the tournament. But again, he's got his fingerprints and identity all over this program. And we can look up towards the tail end of the season, and Kentucky's going to be way higher than 13. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I just think in terms of coaches who get the most out of their roster, he is one of the top ones, not just in the league, but in the country. And speaking of which, I feel like these teams get grouped together a lot for that reason. Alabama at 12, because, man, Rob Vaughn, whatever your preseason expectation is, he and Nick Mingione at Kentucky will overachieve it. I think Alabama, you like the lineup. I'm like, they've shown the ability to rebuild in the portal. I think when Rob talked to us this offseason, I think he's going to try to go maybe a little less JUCO heavy than he has in the past, which maybe was by necessity with where the program was. But, man, they got a lot of guys coming back. You got Justin LeBron, who might be your preseason player of the year in the league. You got Bryce Fowler, Jason Torres. You got Braden Neal coming back for what that's worth. Want to see if he can bust out and be the guy that he's been before. And then you got some transfers who really hit. Justin Osterhaus at Fort Wayne, Logan Davenport at Northern Kentucky. Had about as good a stat line as anybody in this league had last year, although he did it at Northern Kentucky. And then Sam Christensen at Oklahoma, I think, is an underrated transfer. I think my question is their pitching. Now, if Zane Adams and Tyler Fay step up, this team, I think, is going to be middle of the league probably. But I think that's my question is last year they just ran into a problem getting outs at the end of the season with guys and not dudes. And I think that's where my sticking point is with Alabama. But if they're 1 and 2 guys step up and they're both capable, that's fewer innings to pitch. So going to be very interested. You never bet against Rob Vaughn.
Yeah, no doubt.
Bad analogy there. I'm sorry. But anyway, not on purpose at all.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
And I mean that seriously. But anyway.
Offensively, like they're going to be good. Obviously led by Justin LeBron. He's got a chance to be, a top 5 pick. Maybe closer to 1 than 5. He's excellent. I really just think like they're going to make the tournament. I do think once they win that first one in the NCAA tournament, the pressure's off and they're going to take off. That's kind of been the trend since Vaughn has been in Alabama, right? They can never just win that first NCAA tournament game. They've always been 0 for 2. So they're going to make the tournament, just win that first one. And then, who knows, you can take off. They were borderline hosts a season ago. They got sent to Hattiesburg. So I think you're going to be looking at a similar situation. If they're hosting a regional, like that wouldn't blow me away.
Yeah, me either. Okay, number 11, Oklahoma. I'll let you start on Oklahoma. I've got some thoughts here, but I think you and Alfred had them both a little higher than I did. What are you seeing with this team?
Well, to me, like I base that just on the track record for Skip. So 2 years ago, won the Big 12. Last year, solid first year in the SEC. I know you lose a ton pitching wise. Like you lose all 3 of your weekend starters, including the Witherspoon twins. But I just think they know their identity, especially offensively. They're going to steal some bases. They're not really going to hit a ton of home runs, do all that. To me, the pitching is the question mark just because they lost so much from a season ago. But I don't think the wheels are going to fall off by any means. Like, to me, this is an NCAA tournament team and program just because I have the utmost, faith and trust in Skip Johnson and his staff.
Yeah, I think what I like about them is the lineup. Like you got Jason Walk, Jackson Willits, Kyle Branch, Trey Gamble, Dayton Taki. You got Harrison Dickinson played roles off the bench. You got Nolan Stevens from Mississippi State. Like their lineup, they're going to run. They're going to work counts. They're going to do a lot of stuff. They're going to get guys on base. They're not going to hit a ton of bombs, although they did pick up some power in the JUCO ranks, particularly with Dayton LaChance from McLennan, a big JUCO in Texas, and also Brendan Brock. I don't know how much he plays for them, but he hit 20 bombs in JUCO. My issue is their pitching. I just look at what it did last year. LJ Mercurius is probably going to be a key arm for them. UNLV transfer pitched pretty well a year ago. But you go down, they've got some good bullpen arms like Reed Hensley back. I'm just not sure if they've got enough durability in terms of their top end guys. I'm looking at, I may be sleeping on them because they can develop pitching a little bit. And your track record argument is also a valid point. The problem is every team above them, you can say that about the coaching staff too.
Right. Yeah. No doubt. That's what makes this league so great and difficult.
Yeah. I think they're going to be interesting. Like they're always going to be a tough out. I'm just not as certain that the top end, particularly on the pitching side, I'm not sure that they get, you probably need 300 greater elite innings from somewhere on your staff. And I'm not sure that they've got that coming in. But, hey, this is a guy in Skip Johnson who has developed pitchers left and right. Mm-hmm. The Witherspoon he had last year that got picked 10th overall, nobody was talking about him when Skip Johnson got him. And look, maybe this is the year they get it out of Cam Johnson too. They got 2 Cam Johnsons, by the way. One's a hitter and one's a pitcher.
Yeah, that's not confusing.
No, not at all. But anyway, yeah, got some more people in the house. We got the Dance King's in the house. We always love the Dance King. We got Cameron Johnson's a pitcher to watch. I agree with that. I mean, he was a guy that could have been a first-round pick out of high school 3 years ago, went to LSU, transferred to OU, just still has not been able to throw strikes with consistency. So, but I'm rooting for that to happen because that would be fun. All right, we go to number 10, Ole Miss. I know you are bullish on Ole Miss. You feel like they really restocked the pitching with some guys in the portal. They got Hunter Elliott, who I think will be better year 2. Last year was more of a Hunter Elliott knows how to pitch guy rather than Hunter Elliott was mowing guys down, especially with the walks and things like that. But I think he stands to be better year 2. And my key with them will be, do they get enough starting pitching in the portal to break into that top half? And that's where I've got a little bit of a question.
See, to me, the pitching is going to be the strength for this Ole Miss team. Like they brought in a lot of arms from the portal. You know what you got Friday nights with Hunter Elliott. I do think he's going to be really good from the get-go. Last year was his first year back in essentially 2 years, so he had to shake the rust off. To me, the pitching, it's going to be the strength, starting pitching-wise and bullpen, all that. Offensively, that is where my questions rise with Ole Miss. You got Will Furnace is back along with Judd Utermark and Foley. Foley and Utermark both hit over 20 home runs. So depending on what the lineup looked like around those guys and with the addition of Decker from Murray State, the Murray State second baseman, like he's just a guy that gets on base a ton. Not a lot of power, but a lot of base hits. If some of the new additions in the lineup 1 through 9, pave out for Ole Miss, they're going to be fine. They're going to win a lot of games. So, but as far as strengths go, it's going to be pitching, in my opinion, for Ole Miss for this upcoming season.
Yes, I'm a little split on that. I think I'm a little bigger on their offense and a little more down on their pitching compared to their program a lot better than I do. But I mean, Utermark hit 22 bombs a year ago. Foley hit 21. Daniel Pasella hit 20 at Illinois State. Will Furnace is an accomplished SEC hitter, not a star, but a really good player. Mm-hmm. They got Braden Randall sitting there and kind of are available somewhere if they need him. Had a decent year in the Cape. I just think they've got some parts there. And the Decker one, too, that's a table setter at the top who is going to take a lot of pitches, take a lot of walks, and that helps you on weekends, too.
Well, when I mentioned the offense, here lately, the Ole Miss offense, it's relied heavily on the home run ball. And so it's just if they're not able to hit one out of the park a couple times a game, like that has really impacted them the past couple of years. So we'll see if is that going to be the similar trend. Like, are they going to hit a bunch of home runs, be top 4 in the SEC in that area, and then like a million strikeouts? We'll wait and see. But that's what makes them fascinating. Because this is a team that hosted last year. Nobody saw that one coming.
No, and you're right. I mean, and this is a coach. It's a Hall of Fame level baseball coach. I mean, the thing that's made Ole Miss great. Everybody remembers the title, but they were just so consistent for so long. Consistently top half of the league. In a contender a lot of years too. So I don't think they've really got a Mike Bianco problem. It's just the league has gotten so serious about baseball that it's blurred how great he's been there. An interesting thing, you mentioned I think the home runs, the park is going to help that a little bit. And I think that's what makes Hunter Elliott so valuable. He gave up home runs just over 1% of the time a year ago, which is like, that is elite in college baseball, especially with the way the ball can get out at Swayze. He just doesn't give you much to hit.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a gamer. Like, again, he's not going to throw the fastest, have the most electric stuff, but man, he just figures out a way to get outs.
Okay, this next one, I was the high man on Florida by several spots.
Where'd you put him?
I put him 5, and I was debating 4. And here's the reason why. Okay, now look, let me start with the negatives. I do not like their offseason in a lot of ways. I didn't like Kevin O'Sullivan losing it and getting suspended to start. I didn't like him taking a leave of absence for personal reasons. I did not like him losing Chuck Duralman to Tennessee in the fall. Those are bad signs, bad signs potentially. And I didn't like the way it fell apart for them at times last year, although I think a lot of that was injuries. I mean, they got hit by injuries more than anybody. But I'm going to take this because there's several things I like about these guys, okay? And here's where I'm going to start. If I'm going out, I don't know that anybody in the league has got like a 1-2 punch that Vanderbilt had, like with Rocker and Leiter a couple of years ago. I don't know that we've seen that since to that level, at least not consistently throughout a season. Now maybe we get to postseason and it starts to pop. But if I'm going to pick a duo that's that, Graham, I think I'm going to go with Liam Peterson and Aiden King. And King as a freshman just was so refined. You don't see that a lot. He had a 9% free pass rate that adds in hit by pitches. That's really elite for a freshman. Struck out 3 times as many as he walked, had a 2.58 ERA, and he did it in 73 in the third innings. Gave up home runs at a 1% rate. I think Aiden King is their best pitcher coming in. Peterson gets all the attention. Now, Peterson is that guy that's getting that, could be 1-1. Hasn't done it yet, but the scouts love it. And like he was pretty good last year as it was. I'm a guy that I'm kind of biased. I probably weigh pitching and defense a little more than most people. And that's not the only reason, but I think that was the thing in debating all this. Okay, I didn't like the way the offseason went, but like Kevin O'Sullivan's had some dysfunction too that he's gotten through. And you give me two dudes like that. Yeah, I know. You give me 2 dudes like that to start your weekend. That was what got me over the top on Florida. I could be way off on that, but that's where I settled.
Okay. I'm totally with you pitching wise. Florida's going to be golden Friday, Saturday nights. Like they got 2 of the best arms in the league, but like Chris, to me, all that stuff, like you said, to me, I just don't think that's nothing. Like sweep it under the rug.
Hey, I don't think it is either. I don't. That's why I'm conflicted. But anyway, sorry.
So I mean, that's why I kind of put Florida where they are. So, and then on top of all the off the field stuff, what has Florida's Achilles heel been like the last couple of years? Midweeks. Like they do not win midweek games. And really that's been the difference in them hosting and not. So to me, it's just a combination of all the stuff, all the off the field stuff, losing your top assistant to Tennessee when O'Sullivan is like off to the side. You bring him back. He's missing the first handful of games this season.
Yeah.
after what happened in the regionals last year. I just think that's a lot. Now, they got all the talent in the world, like he always does. And it just seems like they kind of scuffle and then they just get insanely hot. Now, that could be the same thing that happens
That
this
is
year.
true.
And nobody wants to face them if they're like a 2 or 3 seed in the tournament. But I just think initially, right out of the gates, this is a Florida team that has a ton of distractions, and we'll just see how it goes. And I do think for them, like, you got to start to win some of these midweek games if you want to host.
Now, to be fair, their midweek is probably year in and year out the toughest in the league. They play all those Florida teams. It's not like getting, a bad OVC team or a Sun team in the midweek, like a lot of the SEC does. So I give them that. Like, some of it's competition. I do worry. Their bullpen has not been very good the last few years. Now, they do have talent. They got Luke McNeely. Billy Barlow, I think, would be bound to do better. A lot of people are high on Josh Reitnauer, who didn't pitch at all for them a year ago, was hurt. But there's another part of Florida, too. I like some stuff that O'Sullivan was doing going into last year. Like, he said, okay, we can't just get too home run dependent. Let's go out and get a little bit more athletic. Let's get some skilled guys in the outfield. Let's have some speed. So he goes and gets Kyle Jones. Well, I think it was going to have a really good year for them. Kyle Jones had 17 plate appearances done for the year last year. Never got to see it. They had the guy that could have been the best second baseman in the league potentially, in Cade Curlin. 51 plate appearances. He was done for the season. He's back this year. They didn't have that a year ago. So that's two big parts of the lineup. And then you also got Brendan Lawson, who, speaking of that 1-1 conversation, future drafts, he's starting to get love for 27. So I'm thinking that could be maybe your breakout SEC player of the year guy too. I just think there's a lot of reasons to think they're going to be better. And it's not like O'Sullivan has always been like king of keeping his cool and discipline too. Like, I feel like they've overcome that before. It's been great despite it. So, I
agree, but this is just a little bit more than
it might be a little much. I get it.
Yeah. But hey, talent has never been a problem in Florida, ever, as long as he's been there.
No, and probably won't be for the next guy either whenever that comes. So, yeah, Bobby Bozer too. That was another guy who got hurt, I think, for them last year. I feel like everybody got hurt on that team.
Yeah, they were probably the most heavily impacted by injuries a season ago.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get to the top half here in just a second. Before we do, reminder, we're brought to you by Rockform, which makes the world's strongest magnetic phone case. I've got one. I've got the vent clip for my car. It is an amazing setup. It keeps your phone in front of you. It's not moving around. It's right in front of your face. You just stick the vent clip on your vent. The phone sticks there because of the magnets. Extreme protection, super strong magnets, Rock-Lock secure mounting, the most reliable and durable phone cases and accessories you can find. And that's true. I've dropped mine I don't know how many times. It's like nothing ever happens. You get the same military grade standards with the case accessories that you do the actual cases. And golf stuff now too. You got Bluetooth speakers for your golf cart, all kinds of stuff. Go to Rockform, ROKFORM.com. Use SEC25, get 25% off your order. Graham, I know you love your Rockform stuff too.
I do. I got the phone case, man. You could drop a brick bowling ball on that thing and your phone's going to be fine. The magnet is super strong. Like, even if you're doing your laundry or by the refrigerator, if that phone's in your pocket, you're going to get stuck on the washer and dryer. The big thing I love, the magnet in the car, put it your phone right in front of you, so you got your map, and if you're going someplace. So can't recommend it enough. Absolutely love my case.
Also brought to you by our friends at Ann Collar. You turned me on to Ann Collar. I got amazing stuff to say about those guys, but I'm going to let you start because you've worn their stuff for years and you were convinced they were great, and you've made me a believer too.
Yeah, absolutely love them. If you're in the market, they make shirts, ties, pants, quarter zips, you name it. And hey, here recently, when you don't have power for 3 days due to
No.
Mother Nature, this quarter zip kept your boy warm. So, been a big fan of Ann Collar, what they're known for, wrinkle free, stain free. They're breathable, all that, and they're very affordable. Like it's not going to
Yeah.
cost an arm and a leg to buy a couple of shirts.
Hey, look, you can pay retail. You will get your stuff in the mail, and you'll look at it like I did, and you try it on. And you're like, why does it not cost twice as much as I paid? But here it gets even better. SEC 16 gets you 16% off. So you're going to get clothes that are more than twice as good as you paid for. Like you can take it to the bank on those two companies. We love them. If you haven't tried them yet, then you need to do that. All right, we get into the top half of our power rankings. We've got Georgia at 8. I am really conflicted on Georgia. I'm probably lower on Georgia than the crowd.
What makes you conflicted?
Well, first of all, it's not a Georgia thing for me. It's all these other teams in front of them and even some behind them. You see this all the time in the league, okay? Where guys transfer in from mid majors and they're really good. But I'm looking at their lineup, and here's where a lot of these guys played last year: South Carolina, Upstate, Wofford, Dayton, Davidson, New Mexico, New Orleans, Richmond, UNLV, and Seattle. That's just their lineup. They will have some returning pieces. Trey Phelps I'm going to be super interested to see what he does after kind of his production really falling off a year ago. He was a guy supposed to be a first rounder before last year. He's back because it didn't go well, and maybe they get a position for him this year. First base sounds like where the home is, but look, these guys raked at their former stops. Just about all of them did, but I don't know. That's number one. Like, how many of those translate to the SEC? Now, look, they've got some freshmen in reserve too. Wes Johnson doesn't like using freshmen a ton, particularly on the pitching side, and they got a couple of dudes in Ty Peoples and Cole Johnson. So maybe some of those dudes win jobs. I'm a little bit more risk averse on elevating them as like a top 5 national team. That's one of the reasons, but I got the biggest one to come. I want to hear how you sort of process their offense before I go there.
Yeah. To me, Caleb just said it in the chat. Georgia is awesome in Athens. Like in that ballpark, they are kind of a different team from when they hit the road. To me, what makes Georgia tough is, and you said it at the very top of this, so only South Carolina brought in more players than Georgia. South Carolina brought in 27 new players. Georgia brought in 26. So it's kind of like, okay, what do you make of all the new pieces that they brought in? It sounds like they're banking on the Seattle transfer, Kenny Ishikawa. Is that how you pronounce his last name? So it sounds like Georgia is really high on him. Two-way player for Seattle. It'd be interesting to see how much of pitching and, does he hit for Georgia. If that is like a monster hit for them, he could be a name that everybody's just going to be like, oh no, we don't want to pitch to that guy. But to me, like, I get where you're coming from because it's so many new pieces and, they're you don't want to say starting over, but it's like it might take them a minute to find their identity and what works for them and what doesn't. They're going to be good at home. They don't leave the state of Georgia until SEC play. I think it's the second SEC weekend. They're going to A&M. That's it. So they're going to pile up some wins at home, and then we'll see what they're made of once SEC play hits.
I like this. Wes wants to know over under on how many of the starting 9 are wearing jerseys at the plate. That's a good catch, Wes. I think he's referring to their tendency to leave the first few buttons unbuttoned. That is a distinctly Georgia thing, I believe.
It is. Also, do you think we're going to get patches for baseball on the uniforms?
Like commercial patches like MLB does?
Yeah, it sounds like we're trending in that direction.
Let me ask you a question. Is there money involved?
Yes.
Well, I think you know my answer.
Yeah.
Here's my other issue with Georgia. And we heard this last year. Oh, they got 16 arms who throw 95. And they did. But none of them, well, they had one dude. Curley ended up being a dude. And that, like, I'm not the one to sell them to. They had some other guys too. And I get that they got some talent. I mean, they're going to have a bunch of guys that throw that again. That the Aoki kid from Southern Cal should be a really nice weekend piece. Solid starter. They got Grant Edwards, a two-way player. Don't know where he figures in. And this got a little bit overlooked. You had some guys like Justin Bird pitched okay. Jordan Stevens pitched okay out of the bullpen. And I think those guys could step up and have bigger years. Andrew Binky, who did some good stuff at Tennessee. They had him as a lefty. So I think there's some stuff here. Dylan Veig from Michigan was a draftable guy that they got through the draft after he signed with them through the portal. Like they got numbers again. And I haven't even hit the two biggest things yet. That's Joey Volchko and Matt Scott from Stanford, both very highly regarded as pro arms. ERAs last year, 6.01 and 6.02. ERA is not everything. I get it. But Volchko had a 17% strikeout rate a year ago, and Scott had 23. Like guys that are dealing are upper 20s, lower 30s in this environment. But I think, I know with Volchko, the theory is that, okay, they've taught him a new arm ankle. He's gone 3 or 4 inches lower. And that's a guy that like you make a pivot sometimes. Like Randy Johnson couldn't throw strikes. And they made some adjustments with him. And then by the end of his career, he's becoming, a guy that strikes everybody out, doesn't walk a lot of guys. I get that guys change. But I don't know, man. I think a lot of times that's the thing that happens over years and maybe not over months. Now, if the thing works with him switching his arm ankles and those strikes, then maybe they got a weekend dude that's an all-SEC caliber guy. I just see a lot of the same patterns here with Georgia that a year ago. These guys all put a bunch of guys on base at their previous stops. And that's not a great recipe, especially when you're pitching in that park.
To me, one thing we haven't touched on yet, Wes Johnson just does things a little bit differently than everybody else pitching wise. So, that's a part of it too. So to me, you're going to see him utilize a lot of different people early to figure out what they have to work with. And then, he'll lean on that, on those core guys. Like you can get in his doghouse and we won't see you for a couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't like using freshmen. He like Nate Taylor, who's going to be maybe Vandy's Saturday guy. He didn't throw him last year, even though he pitched well when he did and tore it up in the Cape. He's one of these guys that you can look at the roster 5 years from now, Wes Johnson's still around and you're going, all right, that's without even knowing the names. You can look at the where they came from and what they did. And go, that's a Wes Johnson team. But I have some, I think they're a really high floor team. And one thing I do like about them is they got a lot of depth, man. They got a lot of pieces. You get injuries. You remember what happened to Florida a year ago. They just ran out of dudes. I don't think Georgia's going to run out of dudes, but between these guys all being much lower level guys and the strike throwing thing, I'm just not as convinced that they are the title contender that everybody else has got them.
To me,
they're going to have weekends where they hit 18 home runs, and it looks it's scary, but I don't know when you get to June.
Are they the most boom or bust team of anybody in the conference? Just because there's so many question marks.
I think the floor is high. I think it's a high floor. Georgia's not going to go 10-20.
No,
but I don't think they're going 25-5 either. So
yeah,
boom and bust. I've got. Let me think about that when we get to the end. I'll tell you where I am. I think I know my answer, but let's see. Where are we? Oh, we are at number 7, Tennessee. Really hard team to figure. Still a lot of talent, still potentially a lot of offensive talent. I like some of the pitcher ads in the portal. I'm not sure their pitching depth is going to be what it's been in the past. Their pitching coach is gone, and there's a lot of there's a lot of talent in the lineup, but it's not a lot of guys who would just been regular dudes in the SEC year in and year out that are tearing it up. I mean, what their most returning experienced hitter, I think, is Reese Chapman, who Baseball America I don't think had in their starting lineup, which I couldn't figure that out. I don't really believe it. And I feel like they got a lot of parts too, kind of like Georgia. Like you got a Chris Newstrom, a Blake Grimmer, a Stone Lawless, guys that play big roles. And one thing Vitello was really good is those guys would sit the bench for a couple years, and then become Kavaris Tears as a junior. I think that's on the table, but I think you're losing your pitching coach. Your hitting coach is now your first-time coach. Losing your strength and conditioning guy and losing him when you did, is, it begs some questions.
Yeah. So to me, the thing with Tennessee, the talent is there. They didn't really lose anybody when they lost Tony Vitello, but I'm kind of in the boat. Like, I want to see what it looks like under Elander. You not only do you lose Tony Vitello, but you lose your strength and conditioning coach, and you lose one of the best pitching coaches in the country. And by the way, Tennessee fans, we're going to get Elander on the show like in the next week or two, at some point before the season starts. So I'm a believer in that if you've never been a head coach before, and he's the youngest head coach in the SEC, there's going to be growing pains. There's something's going to pop up that he hadn't really anticipated, and he's going to have to deal with it. You got to put out like a million different fires when you're a head coach. So I want to see how he navigates and handles that. Talent-wise, they're going to be the same Tennessee as they have been under Tony Vitello. But Tony Vitello is a master motivator, and his team always played hard under him.
Yeah.
And I want to see what it looks like with Elander. Like, I'm high on him. He's well thought of, respected. He was going to be an SEC head coach sooner rather than later, and it just happens. It came in the month of November when nobody saw coming.
Yeah, and that was the pessimistic side. Let me give you the more optimistic side. They'd still got some dudes. Henry Ford is a dude. They were one of the best players anybody got through the draft after he transferred from Virginia. Levi Clark, I think, could end up being a first-round bat in next year. Jay Abernathy was a really highly regarded guy a year ago. Not a lot of pop there, but he gives him, kind of a table setter, get on base type, run a little bit. You can mix it up. Manny Marin is a talented guy. They brought in some transfers and Garrett Wright and Blaine Brown that people wanted. Now, Wright is hurt. I think he's going to miss, a month or more. And then Tyler Might's going to be super interesting. You talk about stat lines. Listen to some of the numbers he put up. Now, this is at Walters State, and he's not going to do this in the league. But this guy had 276 plate appearances. He slashed 484, 583, and had slugging over 1,000. Scored 93 runs, 31, knocked in 110 runs in 276 plate appearances. Walked as much as he struck out. If that's semi-legitimate, that's another bat they got that people aren't talking about. I look in the portal what they did. I think Landon Mack is going to be a solid Sunday type guy, not overpowering, but maybe durable. Brady Frederick gives you an arm angle you haven't seen. Bo Rudy was one of the talks of the portal. He's got a pitch that people just can't get a handle on. Tegan Coons is your, could rise into the first round like Liam Doyle did a year ago. I'm a little more worried about their depth. I think they've had some issues throwing strikes from the younger guys in scrimmages, just looking at brief reports. But there are reasons there that Tennessee could finish several spots higher than where we've got them.
Yeah, I agree. But then there's also reasons if they take a step back from what we've seen the last 5 years, would anybody be surprised?
No, because it's usually what happens. Unless you're Mississippi State and you fire coaches and bring in interims that get you to Omaha and then fall off, which is just a weird another. That's not. Yeah, that doesn't really prove what we're talking about. I'm just saying there's some places that are weird. I don't know. I think this is another team that it's a pretty high floor team. I'm just not as sure about the ceiling.
Right. And it's because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen
Yeah.
what they look like under Elander. I mean, that's why. I think
I mean,
everybody
they could be a high ceiling team too. They could.
correct.
But anyway, next one on the list. Of course, these two teams are paired together. Vanderbilt. I was actually the low voter on Vanderbilt, and I think it's because of the other teams. I think it's a pretty good roster. I think the problem is I'm not sure the lineup. I think the lineup could be better than people think and deeper than people think. But I don't know. Like, you start making a list of, hitters these other teams have. Now, they got guys that have potential. Braden Holcomb's one of them. But there's a prove it factor to me with some of their guys that I need to see. Now, on the other hand, they're pitching. They're going to throw strikes.
Mm-hmm.
They got a good 1-2 punch off the jump in Fennell and Nye that's probably top 5 in the league. They got experienced bullpen guys. They got some newcomers who are going to help. I think it's a very high floor team. Now, and if some of their hitters take a step up, we're talking about a different ceiling. But, yeah, Vanderbilt is settled at 6 once it was all said and done.
To me, like, this team is so similar to what we saw last year. Again, nobody was really talking about Vanderbilt at all. And then you look up and it's like, wait a minute, they're kind of red hot at the right time.
Yeah.
They win the SEC tournament and they're the 1 seed. I just get similar vibes to that. I mean, Corbin's there. Everybody knows what he's done over the years. By the way, let me ask you, what's been the reaction to them moving in the ballpark? Like, is everybody excited? Like what's the talk in Nashville?
I think it's just kind of wait and see. Like, I think on one hand, like, everybody likes the idea that they got some lefties that could generate a few more homers in that park. On the other hand, you got to pitch against it too.
Mm-hmm.
And the wall is a little higher in right than it was. They did make that adjustment. I'm a let everybody pick it. Like, I love Hoover for that reason. I think you get to really go down to Hoover and a lot of times see who's legit and who's not. Rather than pitchers give up cheap home runs. And, like, if you hit one down there, now there are days when the wind's blowing out, especially left center, that it'll get out. But, yeah, I mean, it's a league of small home run friendly ballparks, and there's going to be a little bit more that way. Now, it won't play that way early in the year as much when it's cold. But when it gets May and June, the ball really jumps to right and right center, and it's really going to jump this year.
And they made new additions, or Corbin made new additions to the staff. Like, how much of an impact do you think that's going to have?
Well, that's the other thing. Their hitting coaches just have not been good recently, and they got a really highly regarded one. I do think they have some good lineup guys. Like, they have 11 or 12 guys that you could see in a lot of SEC lineups. I don't know where they're settled. That's another concern I have. Their defensive alignment was not settled probably a week ago, and probably still isn't. And they'll find a way, but it's not going to be Enrique Bradfield running stuff down in center and Vastine Manning short or any of the – I mean, I say that. These guys could develop, but I just think they've had so many high-end defensive guys that I don't know that they can match it. They're not going to match it this year. It's just a question, are they going to be good or are they going to be ordinary?
Mm-hmm. I'm fascinated to see the ballpark and just how much of an impact, if any, that's going to have.
Yeah, I'll tell you a guy to watch. Nate Taylor from Georgia could end up being there too and end up being really good. So they could end up with a Fennell, Nye, Taylor rotation that 1 to 3 is about as good as anybody's. And if that's the case, then maybe they are a spot or two higher here. But we'll see. I think they're interesting. But I think the parity in this area, like, I cannot tell you how many times I switch teams and I'd look at this team and move them up and, like, well, I need to look at that other team. And it just was, I was all over the place on some of these. It was a hard decision where to rank these, which is kind of why I'm glad we voted as a team and went that way.
What you think of what Wes May said in the chat? Connor Fennell's not going to sneak up on anybody this year.
See, I'm glad he said that. I think that's a concern too. But gosh, I mean, the numbers last year, he had a 42% strikeout rate, a 7% free pass rate. I mean, that's a lot of coming down you're going to have to do to just be ordinary. And almost all his innings were SEC innings.
I agree that, like, the book is out on him, right? But
Right.
it's a different animal. Like, man, you can sit down and be like, okay, this is what he does. But when you're in the box and you got to face it, like
Yeah.
it's totally different. And he's the only cat in the conference that pitches like that.
Yeah. Well, and like the league is going to make adjustments, but he is too. He's put on some weight. It's going to come in a
Mhm.
little harder. So I mean, he's a I'm working on my all SEC pitching list. I've got I have moved him up and down so many times I can't even count anymore. I don't know where I'm going to settle with him, but he's an interesting one. I think that's Rustin Rigdon's a guy I like on that team too. I think that breakout guys, we may do that. That's a guy that's probably going to be on my list. Okay, let's go to number 5, Auburn. I think I was a high man on Auburn. Really, really like this team. Grew on me as I watched them and their freshmen grow the second half of the year. I think Auburn might be the team that I like had the less range of where because I think the floor and the ceiling with this team are both really high. And I think they're going to finish better than where you're seeing it in most places.
I'm really high on Auburn, and it is because of their offense. So they are one of the few teams in this conference. They return a boatload of guys that got a ton of experience last year. The majority of them are sophomores. I really like that nucleus that they have in their lineup. I think this is going to be a top 5 offense. Pitching wise, I think we're just going to have to wait and see what they have to work with. But Butch has been doing this for over 20 years now in the SEC. I totally trust him. And I mean, again, I said it a week or two ago. Like, who saw Sam Dutton being their ace a season ago? Not a lot of
Yeah.
people. So Butch is going to figure it out pitching wise. And again, they are going to be heavily in the mix. I think they kind of raised eyebrows last year, being a 4 seed. They earned it. They just ran into a really hot Coastal Carolina team. To me, this is an Auburn team. Like, I think they are going to be in strong position to host again.
Yeah, I think that man, there's so much. First of all, their lineup, they've not only got guys in the lineup that are good, they got dudes on the bench that are like Todd Clay, who had a really good fall for them in scrimmages. I don't know that I buy it, but Baseball America did not even have them in their starting lineup, not even at DH. Transfer from UAB, I think could really help them. I feel like they got some depth. I mean, you got Cade Ballou, who is maybe one of your breakout guys in the league. Ballou was a guy that this time a year ago, people were talking about a first-round guy, and then his mom passed.
Early,
That's
like
a horrible thing.
early.
Yeah, horrible thing to go through. They got Eddie Madrigal from St. Mary's, Mayman first, 21 bombs a year ago. Really good pickup for them in the portal, high on base guy. Walks almost as much as he fans. I mean, I just think 1 to 9, that lineup is going to be pretty good.
I do too.
Really
good.
Well, and here's where I think people are sleeping on them, man. Christian Chatterton and Andreas Alvarez really showed me stuff as freshmen last year. Like, they had spots where they were both really, really good. I don't know that you're hearing guys talk about those two in the discussion of elite pitchers, and I can't start them there because of some of the other guys in the league. But I'm telling you, Chatterton in particular, you may look up at year end, and he could be a first-team All-SEC guy. Their pen, I mean, Hetzler was good for them a year ago. He's durable. He's back. Griffin Graves was good for them. Alex Petrovich was good for them. That's 3 really good returning relievers. They had a Garrett Brewer and Ethan Harden, who both had really good years. And Drew Whalen, who was one of the top arms in the portal. I just think there's more with Auburn. Like, I think if you put Texas on Auburn's jerseys, a lot of people probably have them top 2 in the league.
Probably.
So, anyway. Number 4, Arkansas. And I'm conflicted about them too. Because they've got some talent, and you're looking at, we talked about 1-2 punches. You could see Gabe Gackle and Cole Gibler being up there in that discussion with the best of them at the end of the year. But they lost a lot of that bullpen and a lot of that lineup. I know Dave Van Horn is always going to find a way Like they are high floor every year. But I think they're not the team they were a year ago, which no shame in that. Like that was a team that would have won it in Omaha a lot of years. They ran an LSU team that was really getting together pitching wise. But they lost a lot. They got a lot of good dudes back, but I'm just not sure that their pitching and their lineup are as deep as they were a year ago.
I think they're going to be good. So I'm going on history. I'm looking at it right now. This is 8 years in a row now where they have hosted. I think they're going to be on the same path. Now, I know they lost a ton, including, one of the Aloy brothers and all that, but they're always going to have talent. Now, it might take them a little while to figure it out and get going. But here's what I know. They're going to be good on defense. They always are under Dave Van Horn, and he's just going to figure it out pitching-wise. He's won different ways pitching-wise. He had the Cops year where Cops was Superman and was just lights out, and then he's just had years where he's had a variety of guys that he can lean on and trust out of the bullpen and in his rotation. So, to me, like, what are the odds that the wheels are just going to fall off for Arkansas? Like that, I just don't. That's never going to happen under Dave Van Horn. So they've been on quite the run here, really the last 8 years, but honestly, ever since he's arrived in Fayetteville. So to me, the defense is what really sets them apart. Like Arkansas and Vandy, those two teams are always going to be good on defense, and then they're just going to find ways to win.
Yeah, look, the top of their lineup has got a chance to be pretty spectacular. Aloy's got more power than his brother had. I like the Micah New, I guess is how you pronounce it, the kid from Marshall that they picked up in the portal to play outfield. He was really pretty good in the Cape. Actually, the 80 home runs in the Cape, which not a lot of people do. They got Kojal back. They got, I think, maybe potentially the best catcher in baseball, and Ryder Helfrich, really good both ways. And you got Nolan Susan, Reese Robinette, who've been there forever. And then TJ Pompey. Interested to see what that looks like for him healthy. I don't think the bottom half of their order is going to be as good as it was a year ago. And again, their pitching depth last year was great. I don't see. They got that. Don't get me wrong. They got some really talented arms here. Parker Coyle, Colin Fisher, Carson Wiggins. Fisher, I think, is going to maybe be their Sunday guy. Steele Eves, and the wild card of all wild cards is Hunter Dietz, who could be a first round guy or could throw an inning in a third this year and get hurt again like he always does. So
let's hope.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I would like to see what that looks like because people say this stuff is pretty electric. So guy hurt himself last year. Like he was doing bands in the bullpen and one of them snapped and hit him in the eye. So some of the injuries are just like maybe not arm stuff, but just like could happen to anybody.
Yeah. Man, the baseball guys aren't on your side if that happens.
No, they're not. They might be on Mississippi State's side. We've got them at 3. I want to get your take on State first.
All right. So I think it was Sam said it earlier in the chat. He said we're way, 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 way too high on Mississippi State. Sam, here's what I'll say. You can't view Mississippi State like this is football. State, they're going all in on baseball. They just are. So you bring in O'Connor. He brings in 2 of his staff with him that have been with him for almost 20 years at Virginia. They keep Parker, the pitching coach, so he returns. To me, Mississippi State, their strength is going to be offense. Like they are going to be in every single game just because they're going to tear the cover off the baseball. They got one of the top players in the country in Reese. He's back. He's going to be comfortable and settled in a year or two in Starkville. Now, pitching-wise, to me, that's going to be the question mark just because we don't really know what to expect, what that's going to look like. They lost Pico on Friday nights. He was awesome a season ago. Once they figure out the rotation, what the bullpen looks like, the closer, I think the sky is the limit for Mississippi State. I'm high on them because they're going to be off the charts offensively.
Yeah, look, they've got everything you like. They've got offensively. They've got Ace Reese, who is maybe your player of the year. He's on that short list to start the year. And was in at the end of last year. So no reason that's going to be a drop off. He was good at Houston as a freshman too. So there's some track record outside of last year. I think I like that, and I like the fact that, like, and this is in a good way. Like, I don't know who's going to line up where. They're going to have 3 or 4 guys that maybe don't make the lineup on game one that might end up that would probably start for at least half the teams in the league.
Correct.
And so that gives you some built-in depth. I mean, they've got there's not another Ace Reese there, but I mean, you got
Sullivan.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Chance is a good player. The Valencius kid from Illinois hit there a year ago. Blake Bevis is going to start from Ball State at first, I think. He's a good transfer. The Maloweski kid, I guess, from Seton Hall, they had to have a catcher. He's got some pop there, I think, defensively. Sounds like they might go somewhere else first. You got a couple outfielders in Teal and Nunnally at Virginia last year. That Brian O'Connor knows well from coaching them there. I mean, you got dudes on the bench, Reed Stallman, been around for a while, done some things there. Like you've got the ability to withstand injuries on offense if they happen. And you got dudes in pitching. I mean, you've got Ryan McPherson was Team USA, Tyler Pitcher, and Duke Stone took huge leaps in the Cape. And Pitcher was talented at South Carolina. Like, he's had his moments before. There's just been no consistency. They got Ben Davis, who's been a really good arm, like that, can start, can relieve, can do a lot of stuff for you. They got Nova Sullivan if they need him. They got Dane Burns and Charlie Foster are talents. Like, they got a lot of guys. What I'm not sure about is, do they have that match other guys in this league's Friday guy? And that's where I'm a little lower on them than the crowd is I'm not sure that they've got numbers, but do they have a guy? Do they have a couple of guys that can just come in and like maybe McPherson's that guy this year? It's possible, but just the lack of a track record compared to some other teams is where I'm a little. That's where my concern is with them. Not they have been good, but do they have guys that are just dudes with capital D's?
Well, they got dudes offensively. To me, that is fair pitching wise. I think it's going to take them maybe a moment or two to figure out what they have to work with pitching wise. But like Wes called it in the chat, he said they're going to make a regional, but they're not going to host. I think State is hosting. I think
I'd be shocked at that. Yeah. But they're a very high floor team,
big time,
and I think a pretty high ceiling team too. I just think the next two teams in this conversation probably have higher ceilings, and we agreed unanimously on 1 and 2 in that order. Start with Texas, which means by now you're tracking this. You know who number 1 is. It'll be LSU. We'll get there in a minute. And I looked at LSU's early. I was going through these teams one by one, and I was like, okay, LSU is going to be the team that I'm not going to have anybody on, ahead of. I got to Texas and I started deep diving it. That was a little bit more of a conversation than I expected it to be.
I'm high on Texas, and Schlossnagle's high on Texas because of all the transfer portal talk. They brought in like the least amount of guys. Like, they only brought in 8. And the 8 they brought in are going to be big-time additions, starting with the catcher, Notre Dame transfer, Tenney. I think he's going to be phenomenal. That guy could have gone anywhere he wanted to. He picks Texas, and I think he's going to tear it up. All conference twice in the ACC. To me, the ACC is the second-best conference behind the SEC for college baseball. And then just the returners that they brought back, position player wise, and then pitching wise. To me, you're looking at Texas and LSU, they are phenomenal shape wise, as far as their pitching rotation, bullpen, closers, you name it. And you got an elite head coach on top of it. So all of those things are a giant recipe for success for Texas.
Yeah, I mean, that lineup, Ethan Mendoza was great a year ago. He's back. Adrian Rodriguez was having a great season as a freshman until he got hurt. He's a shortstop this year. That's going to be interesting. But Rodriguez, another guy that's been, I think maybe been passed by some other guys, but like he was a guy that like last year, if you started to look at a couple of drafts, was getting some 1-1 talk for 27. So he's back, I would presume healthier, and at shortstop. That'll be interesting. Carson Tenney, we talked about Hakopian at A&M being maybe the best player in the portal. That could be Tenney, who was just outstanding at Notre Dame. 17 bombs, slugged 753, on base 498. The issue with Tenney is he struck out 40% of his plate appearances in the Cape. So does that get exploited in the SEC? We're about to find out. Casey Borba was really good. Jonah Williams came on and cracked the lineup late in the year. Terrific athlete. Jaden Duplanier's back for depth. They got Ashton Larson, who couldn't crack it at LSU and get in the lineup. Like he's a draft prospect for this year. And the Pendergrass kid from Charleston stole 43 bases. That gives him a little bit of, lineup flexibility. If you got a guy that can hold runners on, you could see him in there. And I didn't even mention Aiden Robbins, who slashed 422, 537, 657 at Seton Hall, and just absolutely lit it up in the Cape with 6 home runs too. So like I just look at the lineup, and that is elite. Josh Livingston from Wichita State will be okay at first. The pitching, I could argue Volantis is best arm in the league. Max Grubbs has been around forever, giving them a ton of good innings. Luke Harrison gave them 70 good innings a year ago. Riojas did too before he wore down. They brought in Cam Higgins, one of the best pitchers in the portal. He'll throw out of the pen. They got Cade Bing back. They got Hayden LaFew, who closed some for Wake. They got Jason Flores, Thomas Burns, Cody Howard, Ethan Walker, Connor McCrary. I mean, they've got so many arms and so many quality arms. I don't know how many people realize how good Texas is all the way around.
Yeah. And you said it, Volantis, like you could put him up to anybody in the league, and you're not going to find very many better than him. And to me, like, they're so balanced is what separates them from the majority of the teams in the SEC.
Yeah, and Jim Schlossnagle too, guy who's been to Omaha many times. All right, number 1, LSU. What does LSU not have, Graham?
It's a good question. I don't know if we have an answer.
Maybe guys always happy with playing time, because there's going to be some guys that are going to be squeezed. But like, he's managed that situation before.
He has, and kind of what fascinated me was when we had him on, and like he told us, like they never planned or banked on having Chris Stanfield come back. Like that was never on the table for LSU for this season. Yeah. So Stanfield goes to the draft, doesn't go his way, and then like he comes back to LSU. That's a guy that has played for 4 years now in the SEC. So that just kind of tells you how loaded they are when you just get a nice surprise like that, Stanfield coming back. But why we picked LSU, like you're looking at a very elite coach, 2 different programs to Omaha, 2 natties, and just what he's been able to do on and off the field and building this roster. Like to me, pitching wise, they are in fantastic shape. They got the best pitching staff all the way around. Bullpen, starters, closer, like nobody's better than LSU. So all of those things combined, and just with the fact that Jay Johnson to me is just on a different level. Like we've had him 3 or 4 times. Every time I come away, just blown away by him, just how impressive he is. Even before we hit record, when we visit with him before and after the show, like he's just a pleasure to talk baseball with. So as long as Jay Johnson is there, just with all the support that LSU has and the resources they get put into it, LSU is going to be the team to beat. And I saw it earlier. Moscano is saying that LSU is going with patches this year on the jersey. So that maybe they'll be the guinea pigs. Like they're the first ones to do, and then everybody else will follow suit.
Yeah. What I like, boy, where to start. Pitching. Added up all their innings a year ago. These guys pitched 515 innings with a 3.69 ERA at their stops. Some of that was LSU, some of that was other places. About 100 of those were JUCO innings, so factor that in there too. But take those out. I mean, like the quality of what they've got here was still as good as anybody's. They got Cooper Moore from Kansas, who was a really solid Saturday guy for them. Kason Evans is going to be in that pitcher of the year conversation. Like I'd be a little bit more questionable about him moving from the pen to the rotation if we hadn't seen it. And we saw it late in the year when freshmen get tired. Guy didn't give up a home run in 52 2/3 innings a year ago. That's unbelievable. I mean, who does that now? They got William Schmidt, who, if we're talking pop-up SEC pitcher of the year guy, he's in that conversation. Was a little wild a year ago. Might take some time, but he's like thought to be that next great one. You got Zach Cowan, who's been durable 2 straight years in a row, been really good between there and Wofford. You got Jaden Newt, who finally pitched last year and looked good when he did it. You got Santiago Garcia from Oregon, one of the best relievers in the portal, future major league reliever, maybe. Maverick Rizzi, Cooper Williams, guys that pitched for them last year. Rizzi was great in the Cape, although it wasn't a long stint. And then we haven't even gotten to like Reagan Ricken and Marcos Paz, arms that most teams don't get through the draft, but they did because they're LSU. So I'm just, they've got more depth and quality pitching than anybody in the league. And then the lineup, I think it's just going to be solid. I don't know if it's a great lineup like they were 2 years ago. But Curiel, going to be one of the best hitters in college baseball, going to be probably a top 10 pick in the draft. And that may be without adding power. He's that good a hitter. And he could do that. He's going to be playing center this year too. You got a Rock and Stephen Milam at short. I think my question on them is, like, what do these transfers do? Seth Darter, who may or may not even start, was really good at Kansas State. You've seen him do that in the Big 12, which is a big-time league, and he's old. He's a class of 21 guy. Zach York from Grand Canyon, they were lucky to get him through the draft. Big first baseman, but pretty agile despite the size. Trent Caraway, kind of interested to see, is he the guy that the scouts think he can be, like top 150 guy in the draft, or is he the guy that was just okay at Oregon State a year ago? And what do they do with Braden Simpson, who just put up video game numbers at High Point, hit 22 bombs, slugged 774. It was pretty good in the Coastal League too. It's more spots than, or more guys than spots. I guess my question for them, but they got, Jake Brown, who the scouts love. He'll be maybe a top 5 round guy this year.
Been there forever.
At catcher, been there forever. Kate Arambide at catcher, who played pretty well in spot duty as a freshman. Like, I feel like they've got answers everywhere. My question will just be, how do some of these transfers, how does it translate offensively?
My question is going to be the jump that William Schmidt takes from freshman to sophomore season. And if he does live up to his potential, which everybody certainly sees, boy, it's going to be just bad news for everybody else in the SEC. So really, like, when I look at LSU, I think they're going to be in great shape offensively. Pitching wise, I want to see the jump that William Schmidt takes from year 1 to year 2.
Our man Caleb says they changed Rizzi's delivery, so that'll be interesting too. I mean, they get the most out of their pitching at the end of the year. Nobody has a pitching staff peaking like Jay Johnson, and that's, me. When in doubt, I'm going to go pitching and defense. I don't know that they're elite defensively. I mean, they might be. Milam's played a lot of short. Curiel in center is maybe a major league center fielder, and you got some catchers who've done it before. And a pretty good first baseman in York too, I think, from what I hear.
And what I like about Jay too, like when it's crunch time, like he has his guys and he's going to roll with them. It reminds me of like a basketball coach, like, he's going to roll 7 or 8 dudes out there. Jay Johnson is very similar, especially pitching wise. I mean, there were guys that were healthy and really good pitching wise. They just barely played in the postseason last year, and it's just because like he has his formula that he sticks with, and it has certainly shown that it's worked here recently for him.
Yeah, I mean, he draws that circle of trust to 6 or 7 guys. And you got guys 8, 9, 10 would be throwing innings for anybody else usually.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's and that's the thing. They just got so many numbers, and Texas does too. I just think that's what I think. I think Texas and LSU, what made them separators in my mind is I just think once you get down to, maybe not just the top end, they both have a chance to be elite with Friday night guys. And once you get to guys like 8, 9, 10 on the staff, I like them as much as maybe anybody.
Yeah, agreed.
And by the way, a couple guys I forgot to mention, and this is just how good these teams are. You got William Patrick, top 100 guy in the draft, according to a lot of people. He got to school for LSU. Omar Cerna, elite catcher, top 150 guy in last year's draft. You got those guys hanging around. And we didn't even mention this on Texas. Another reason I'm high on Texas, like that freshman class, I think was rated number 1 in the country. Like you got guys there in Brett Crossland, who could play a big role. Grady Westphal, another one. And then you got one of the top freshman outfielders in the league, and Anthony Pack Jr., who could crash the party too. So, I mean, I just think depth, in my mind, there wasn't a lot of debate not having Texas and LSU 1-2. I did think about it with Auburn. Did think about it with Mississippi State. I don't think I considered putting anybody else in that top 5. I could argue Florida.
Just too many distractions.
Yeah, I mean,
else.
when you get to the holes to poke, those teams both had exceptionally high ceilings and just not a lot. Like we're going to criticize everybody or bring up concerns because like nobody's going to run the table and go 70-0. There's going to be something that gets you at some point. But when you started trying to poke holes in those two teams, to me, they just had less than anybody.
Yeah, and I mean, it speaks for itself. 2 national championships in 3 years. So,
yeah,
Jay Johnson he's in a league of his own as far as like head coaches go.
Yeah, and Caleb said, "Don't let the York side." York is a big guy. Like I'm thinking, like if you remember Sandoval that played for the Giants,
Pablo.
Yeah, like picture that kind of build, but he's kind of light on his feet, so.
He's a vacuum cleaner over there?
I guess so. I've seen him play a little bit, not enough, but I have a feeling we'll see a lot of him. That's when the LSU, I don't know like where it's going to settle. Like Baseball America, I just kind of look at their lineups, not to cheat, but just to see if I've missed anything. Mm-hmm. And like they didn't have Braden Simpson in there even at DH, which is like kind of hard to believe.
Right.
But
it's a good problem to have, though.
It's a great problem to have. That's why you're LSU. Well, what did you ask me? You asked me who was it? You said, give me your
Georgia.
team that's
Georgia.
Okay, no, but what was the question you asked me? I said I'll answer it at the end of the show.
Boom or bust, is Georgia like the team that has like the highest ceiling against the lowest floor?
I don't know that it's Georgia because I think Georgia's floor is decent.
Who would it be for you then?
I think it's Florida because I think all the reasons I called them out is being potentially elite are valid, and I think all the reasons that you called out why they could bust are valid.
It's a long season, guys. Like
it is.
If you're not winning, and plus on all the other stuff that you had to deal with, that has nothing to do with results on the field. Like, not saying that that's going to happen because he has certainly shown like, man, he can navigate through all kinds of stuff, and they still make a run in the postseason, and he may do it again, but it just feels like this is a little bit more noise than they've ever had to deal with.
Yeah. No, I think that's my team. A&M is another one too. I think those are my 2 teams.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen in the chat, people talking about A&M is too low. Like, guys, the The talent isn't the issue. I mean, it wasn't the issue last year. They were loaded last year. It's just, you ride the roller coaster with a young first-time head coach, and that is what they did a season ago, and maybe it'll turn around this year for them. We'll wait and see, but I do think it's a big deal you lose your hitting coach for Texas A&M a month before the season starts. Nobody had that coming.
Well, I mean, the weird thing is I'm usually the one that's kind of dinging teams for chemistry and instability more than anybody. And man, I tried to, because like you're looking for easy answers. Like I'm looking at this, I'm needing somebody to stink. So I can okay, that's, instead of having to look at really 14 teams and decide where do they go, give me 10. Your job's easier. I just had an issue with trying to, and I just kept going, okay. Kevin O'Sullivan is probably not the easiest guy to get along with. I think everybody would agree with that. Not the friendliest sort, but he's always been that guy, and they've always won.
He wins. Yeah.
So, I think Tennessee, I could put in that boom or bust category too, because there's a lot of talent, but just with the coaching thing and the timing of it too.
Yeah. By the way, Mac says in the chat, rule number 1, if you get swept by Missouri, you have to earn your respect back. That's a good rule.
Yeah.
Good rule, Mac. Remember, that was in College Station too.
I know. Wes is one of our best guys in the chat, but Wes, come on, man. God, this is going to be so much fun.
It is. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. First of all, I'm ready for the weather to cooperate because it doesn't feel like baseball weather in the state of Mississippi right now. Other than that, I can't wait for it.
I got life's wisdom here for people.
What you got?
If you have never bought, and this is for people who've never bought a house or you're looking to, I never had a home with a garage until we bought ours. I will never not have a home without a garage again. We didn't grow up with one. That's number one. So I think that's been a real point of appreciation through the winter storm. The other one, I'm going to see if you can guess it. Like things to look for in a house that you might not think to look for.
Trying to think. Something to do with water.
In the ballpark.
What you got? This is our first. My wife and I, we bought this house. We moved in September, so this is our first house homeowner. And let's say we were put to the test with this winter storm the past 4 days.
Oh, Bart's calling us out on A&M, and he's right. I'm gonna scold you too for a little bit on that. A&M's going to fish higher than that. Like I just called you out.
Maybe.
I get it. There's questions, but
anyway. Have you ever seen a team where everybody was like, all right, everybody's in agreement, unanimous number 1, and then they don't make the dance?
Well, I'll have to say this. You're pretty good at seeing things I don't see sometimes. So I'm always going to respect you and Alfred. You guys know your stuff. So we have fun with this. I'm just giving you a hard time. But I do think they could be. There's ways they could outperform. Anyway, okay, I've danced around it. Underground power lines. Our power never went out for a second here.
Really? See, our neighborhood here, everything is underground, and we were still right now. Now this was like a, storm of a generation type of storm,
right?
And 10 out of the 11 power grids in the Oxford area went kaput. So nobody had power.
The thing that worried me, I've got at my office, I'm over a garage and I'm kind of looking into a corner and I'm on the edge of the house. And if I could look straight through the wall, there's maybe a 70-foot sycamore where I could, the branches, the edges are maybe a dozen feet away. That thing was caked in ice. And I was just like, please don't let that thing fall on our house.
Yeah. You need to look into that because we're fortunate in our neighborhood where our house is. We don't have trees really anywhere near us. So thankfully I didn't have to stress with that. And Caleb, You are not wrong, sir. So that is your boy's gonna put that into effect moving forward. Talking about getting a generator.
Uh,
So I went to Home Depot and they're like $1,000 depending on which one you want. I'm
ooh,
like, I think we'll be okay. And then
yeah.
it's
We
worth
ha-
it.
we have enough friends that like if we needed to go stay somewhere, we would have been okay. I think. But
Hmm. Well, luckily, like that's what we did. My parents just live on the other side of town, so my parents, their house is on the same grid as the hospital because they live like super close to the hospital. So hospital's always going to get top priority, which makes sense. So we just went over there after a while.
yeah, man, I'm fired up for baseball. Even if it is frozen February baseball, like the tournaments in Arlington and places where real teams play real teams, I'm interested to see
Hmm.
those. I'm not interested to see somebody play a 8th place Horizon team in 30 degrees. That just doesn't tell me a lot. But
Yeah. To me, the two tournaments in Texas are kind of like the standards. Like they do a phenomenal job. There's a reason why those two tournaments get all these excellent teams. I'll
yeah,
tell you, a sneaky tournament is the one in Jacksonville. Like they've done a really good job. It's a beautiful ballpark, and they do a really good job of attracting teams. They normally get teams out of the Big Ten to make the journey south, so that's also a good tournament as well.
who's in that one?
I'm trying to think. I can't. Last year, remember it was Bama was the SEC team in that one, and they had to come from
Yeah.
behind against like Ohio State. I can't remember who, which SEC team is in Jacksonville this year.
Hey, our two favorite Sooners are here now. Jim chimed in late. Always, Jim's so much fun.
He is. I think you guys are going to have a good team this year
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
By the way, the softball stadium at Oklahoma is off the charts. Shout out to Loves. Loves
Right.
Loves is everywhere on that
Yeah.
stadium, which makes sense.
All right. We've gone almost an hour and a half. We talked baseball. We talked weather. We talked underground power lines. We talked shirts you need to buy and phone cases you need to
Yeah.
buy. We hit almost everything, but we got a lot more to hit. We got all SEC teams coming. I think I'm going to come up with some other categories, maybe X factors and breakout guys. Like, I think we're going to be doing live streams maybe 4 days a week between here and season. We may start doing a lot of them during the week this year in the season. I'm guessing we're going to be doing reactions after weekend games, most every night, maybe not midweeks. And then we may just, if people hang out, we'll do some live stuff during the week too. We'll do power rankings live on Monday. That'll get a crowd. And like, if there's always stuff to talk about. So if you guys show up, we'll do stuff.
Yeah, live shows are always the best.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you guys. Remember to join the membership tier here. That gets you some bonus content. We'll be doing that too. Patronize our sponsors and leave us a nice comment, thumbs up, that kind of stuff. And also, if you get us here, if you think about it, like on Apple Podcasts and places, leave us a nice rating and a some comments there that helps us get noticed other places. We're over 32,000 subs. We'll be over 35,000 by baseball season's in. And and all kinds of basketball stuff here at the channel, which you guys, most of you know that. So anyway,
Jim's asking when the weekend reactions start.
Oh, I think we'll do them day one. I mean, I can't imagine not reacting to all the week one stuff. I mean, I think we'll do a Friday night, probably a Saturday night. Don't know how we'll do. We might do a Sunday recap like we did last year. Sundays are the day I try to rest a little bit, but anyway. All right, we'll be here with a lot of it, and you guys will be here, and that excites me. Great to see all the familiar names in the chat. Hope you guys were safe. In all seriousness, God bless you guys. Prayers with the entire region as people try to get their lives back after the weather, and let's hope to God we've seen the worst of it. No more to come. Anyway, for Graham Doty, I'm Chris Lee. God bless you guys. Thanks for watching. This is Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel.